Hi everyone, it's Dan, and today's video, which is recorded at 1920 by 1080 resolution, will be also 5 frames a second because this deals a lot with still images. Today's topic is Atari 8-bit art restoration. First, I will show you a few of the tools that I use for some of my art restoration. You see my thing I use for the phosphor grill, as it were. I will zoom in on this so you can see right here the individual columns for the red, green, and blue phosphor dots. And I also have different sizes for it depending on what I want to do. And I also have things for scan lines as well. So scan lines, yeah, let's zoom in on this. And there we go. This just means transparent, this checkerboard part. Okay. Now when I start off, I use an image, a GIF that's 400 pixels across and 240 up and down. The images inside are usually 320 pixels across by 192 up and down. I will then expand them and apply the effects of the phosphors and scan lines. It turns out the entire image will be 1600 by 1200, and the inside will be 1280 by 960. This is because I stretch it 4 times as wide and 5 times as high. It also gives a truer aspect, taller pixels as would appear on the Atari. We have different text modes, 40 columns, 20 columns, 24 rows, 12 rows. We have bitmap graphics, 40 columns of these by 24 rows, 80 by 48, 160 by 96, and the most popular one, 160 by 192. We have a 320 by 192 mode. It's called a 1.5 color mode. I'll explain that a little later. We have a 16 shade mode, 16 shades of one hue. This is the only mode where you can have a choice from 256 colors. All the other modes you have a choice of 128 colors because it's 16 hues and 8 shades of each hue. We have 8 foreground and 1 background color in this mode, and these can be individually set. And here we have, it's a 16 color mode, but hue 0 is always black and the other hues are separate but common brightness. Now, these are other text modes. This is a special one, 10 scan lines high instead of 8. It allows for true extenders. And again, another example of the 16 shade mode right here. And the mode that's here is copied there, just for the point of it. And another example of the 15 hue plus black background mode. Now what I do is I go through the magazines, I look for scans of images. People will send their artwork into magazines like Antic, and they'll get printed in a magazine. But the original files, most of them are gone, lost to the ages. So what I do is I look at them, I try and get an idea of how I can reproduce them. Usually it's by hand. So, like I say, this one is made by John Brooks. His image, City of Lights, uses a 4-color mode of 160 across by 96 up and down. He used a drawing program called Paint, and he won a contest, so his image got to be on the cover of Antic. Here are some magazine scans. And my little hand-drawn GIF image, and the blown up heart. Again, magazine scan, my finished product. So, my homage to these great artists. Of course, we gotta have Atari's familiar ready prompt. The reason I include this here is because, well, here is a little something. Normally it's like this. Here's a command that can be used. What this will do is put this to a normal width for each scan line, the graphics field as it were. 160 color clocks. It's a thing that television NTSC had. Well, I don't know exactly much about it, but it's there. It can be narrower or wider or normal. Now here we have Cheetah by George R. Bradford. He used a program called Keystroke Artist to draw this. He also made Stagecoach here. He used a different graphics modem program for that. Micro Painter at 160 by 192, 4 colors. This one is the what they call the 9 color mode, 8 foreground, 1 background color, 80 by 192. Here's a blown up view of the magazine scan. Here's my rendition. I'm thinking of redoing this, making it even better. David Milligan had an article in Atari magazine about loading certain types of microsec graphics pictures. This image of this person on here, I don't know if it's David Milligan or someone else. It's the 160 by 192 4-color mode. This is my GIF drawing, and this is the finished product. It's a little stretched. Should have been more careful with that. Michael Green used Keystroke Artist to make Early Spring. Here's the scan. Here's my rendition. Now, some graphics modes, if you load them from a basic programming language, Atari Basic, you can get a little text window at the bottom. So this could either be 40 by 24 or 40 by 20. It depends on you're using it for. And 80 across, 160. Here is graphics mode that's 320 by 192. On a monitor, the individual pixels would behave like this. They'd be the same hue as the background, but they could be the same or different brightness. On a television, things go a little different. Because of certain hardware limitations, you get artifacting. So, in the leftmost column, and then 2 over, 2 over, 2 over, they'll be greenish color. The other rows, they'll be reddish. And if they're side by side, then you get these solid colors, as it were. And yet, if you had a whole row of the little things here like on, off, on, off, on, off, we could like it look like a solid line, even though in the computer's memory it wasn't. Graphics mode, 16 shades. And this one, and of course this one, 160 by 160 or 160 by 192, depending if you're using the text window. Graphics 10.7 is a mode that was made by using a few software tricks, and basically it starts off with the mode that's 160 by 96, and then you key in a certain command to also use some of the features of the 9 color mode as well. So you get a mode that's pixels same width, twice as tall, half the screen memory used, and instead of 9 colors, it's 7 colors. Quite a neat thing. And the Graphics 10.7 Painter program made by Peter Budgell. Alan Gillings made Keystroke Artist, the drawing program. Here's a cat, I guess he drew. Here's the scan, and here's my interpretation. Michael Green, who made Early Spring, also made Night Flight. So here's my GIF. Here's the magazine scan. Here's my rendition. Scott Burfield made a program called GTI Sketchpad. GTI was a graphics chip that was in the Ataris. He calls this picture he drew with it Shuttle Landing. And you see that little custom text window there. I made a couple of interpretations of it. Here's one of my interpretations. Here's the blown up magazine scan. Here's another interpretation of mine. That. Because it's real hard to tell like the different levels of shading where the pixels are and whatnot. And that is our little journey through my little hobby of Atari 8-bit art reproduction. Just to make sure these aren't lost to the annals of time. These people are really good artists for what they had to work with. And I hope you enjoyed our little presentation. So until next time, peace.